As I stood on the bustling streets of Cebu City, the energy around me was intoxicating. I had just spent days soaking in the sun, indulging in fresh seafood, and exploring the rich culture of this vibrant city. Yet, deep down, I felt a siren's call for more adventure, more discovery, more experiences that would make my heart race. The thought of moving on began to brew in my mind, and suddenly, I found myself drawn to Davao City and Hanoi. Two completely different worlds, each promising a tapestry of adventures just waiting for me to unravel. My decision to head to Davao City was immediate and instinctive. I had heard tales of its lush nature, friendly locals, and the majestic Mount Apo, the highest peak in the Philippines. I was especially intrigued by the stories of the Philippine eagle, one of the world's most endangered birds, nestled safely in the forests of Davao. I envisioned myself trekking through the forests, adrenaline pumping as I searched for glimpses of this magnificent creature. Part of me also felt the allure of Davo's modernity mixed with tradition, a place where cultural diversity thrived alongside urban development. As I landed in Davao City, the air was thick with the scent of durian, the infamous fruit that is said to have a smell akin to rotten onions. It was an acquired taste that I was determined to try despite the warnings that it could be love it or hate it. My hotel was nestled in a corner of the city, a little haven among the bustling streets. I made a mental note to visit the famous People's Park, where I would wander among beautiful sculptures and vibrant gardens. As soon as I stepped out, I was swept up in the warmth of the locals. Their smiles were infectious, and their openness made me feel at home. While exploring the park, my mind wandered to the hikes ahead. I knew I had to venture into the wild to face the heights of Mount Apo, and yet a lingering doubt in my mind surfaced. Was I ready for this challenge? Climbing the highest peak of the Philippines would demand physical endurance and mental toughness. Would I be able to conquer it, or would it end up being a tale of defeat? For a moment, I hesitated, but then the thrill of the climb ignited a fire within me. I had come here to seek adventure, and there was no turning back now. After a few delightful days of immersing myself in Davo's nature and culture, I found myself standing at the foot of Mount Apo, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. The hike was grueling, pulling at my muscles and testing my resolve. Yet, every step pushed me out of my comfort zone, revealing parts of myself I never knew existed. As I gradually ascended, I could feel the energy of the mountain coursing through me like a current, urging me onward. It was in those moments of solitude amidst the towering trees, feeling the earth beneath my feet, that I realized what I was truly seeking. Not just the thrill of the climb, but the deep connection to nature that it afforded me. The top of Mount Apo was unlike anything I had ever experienced. Standing there, above the clouds, surrounded by breathtaking vistas, I felt a wave of emotions crash over me. This was why I traveled, to feel alive, to test my limitations, and to capture moments that would forever linger in my memory. I believed with every fiber of my being that this was only the beginning of my quest for adventure. With Davao City behind me, I set my sights on my next destination, Hanoi, Vietnam. I had long dreamt of wandering through its ancient streets, where history resonated in every corner. I could envision myself sipping strong Vietnamese coffee while watching the world go by, immersing myself in the rich tapestry of culture that formed the backbone of this stunning city. As I flew into Hanoi, the first thing that struck me was the chaos of the traffic, motorbikes darting in every direction, a frenetic dance of lives unknown to me. I felt a pulse of excitement. This was a city alive with movement. My heart raced as I caught sight of the breathtaking Hon Kim Lake with its emerald waters, where locals gathered to exercise and socialize. I made a beeline for the old quarter, where traditional architecture met the tantalizing aromas of street food wafting through the air. Every corner promised a new taste, a new experience, a culinary adventure I was eager to dive into. I recalled the stories of the renowned street food scene in Hanoi, the famed pho that seemed to be infused with the spirit of the city itself. I could already taste the warm broth and fresh herbs, each bowl offering a unique interpretation of this beloved dish. With every bite, I imagined the smiles of the chef who had lovingly prepared it, pouring generations of tradition into each serving. But as I delved deeper into my days in Hanoi, I started to feel a hint of anxiety creep in. Would I be able to navigate the labyrinthine streets? Could I manage the language barrier? My inner doubts loomed large, whispering that I might not be the adventurous traveler I believed myself to be. Maybe I was just a wanderer lost in a sea of vibrant chaos. Yet, somewhere amidst the worries, a spark of courage ignited. I had overcome challenges before. I could do it again. I had traveled thousands of miles to be here. I owed it to myself to embrace the unknown. One of the highlights of my time in Hanoi was my visit to the majestic Temple of Literature, a serene oasis in the heart of the bustling city. It was here, surrounded by ancient trees and graceful architecture, that I paused to reflect on my journey. Each step I took, each city I visited, each person I met was weaving a story that belonged to me alone. In that moment, I realized that my travels were not just about the destinations, but also about the profound lessons tucked within each experience. They were the moments that shaped me, pushed me, and made me who I am. The streets of Hanoi held stories in every crumbling facade, traditions whispered among the locals, and vibrant chaos that challenged my senses. I learned to navigate the crowds, embrace the unfamiliar, and relish every morsel of food offered. I even dared to try my hand at bargaining in the bustling markets, finding a sense of joy in the playful negotiations. Each day became a dance of discovery, revealing layers of history and culture that I longed to understand. As my time in Vietnam drew to a close, I found myself reflecting on the whirlwind of experiences that shaped my journey. From the serene heights of Mount Apo to the chaotic allure of Hanoi, I felt like a phoenix rising from the ashes of my fears and doubts. Every struggle had been worth it. Every question had led to new answers. With a heart full of gratitude and a soul craving more adventures, I boarded my flight home, knowing that this was not an end, but just another beginning. I realized that each trip would only fuel my desire to continue exploring a world filled with endless wonders. My travels had transformed me. They sparked a longing for the authentic, the unusual, and the unknown. I returned home not just as a traveler, but as an ever-evolving adventurer, ready to seek out the next chapter in my story, where more discovery and more courage awaited. As I stepped off the plane in Davao City, Philippines, a wave of emotions washed over me. The humid air wrapped around me like a heavy blanket, a stark contrast to the cool, air-conditioned cabin I had just left. I could feel my heart racing in my chest, an exhilarating mix of fear and euphoria dancing beneath my skin. This was it. My adventure had begun. The vibrant energy of the city was palpable, and I felt like an outsider, a stranger in a land rich with culture I was still trembling to comprehend. With my suitcase rolling behind me, I navigated through the bustling airport. Brightly colored signs adorned the walls, and the sound of Tagalog and Cebuano resonated in my ears, a melody foreign yet oddly inviting. I tried to focus on what lay ahead, but I couldn't shake the creeping doubts that clung to my thoughts. What if I couldn't communicate? What if I got lost in this unfamiliar place? Each doubt felt heavy, but also ignited a fire of resilience within me. This was my chance to confront my fears head-on. As I stepped outside the airport, the vibrant chaos of Davao greeted me. Motorbikes zipped past, and street vendors shouted out the day's offerings. The air was rich with the scent of grilled meat and tropical fruits. I could see people laughing, families gathering, and children playing, all of which painted a canvas of everyday life. Life that was completely different from my own. I stood there for a moment, absorbing the sights and sounds, feeling the weight of my journey ahead. I wanted to feel connected, to be part of this tapestry, yet I found myself an observer, lingering on the edges. The city felt vast, every corner filled with the unexpected. I hoped to discover my place amid the illusion of anonymity, but a pang of homesickness tugged at me. I missed familiar voices and the comforting embrace of home. Such feelings collided with the whirlwind excitement of discovering something new and unknown. With each step I took, I tried to leap over my own trepidations, seeking out the first taxi, ordering my first meal, and finding my way to my accommodation. Getting into the taxi was an experience in itself. I managed to convey my destination to the driver, my nervousness peeking through as I stumbled over my words. Yet, as we drove through the streets, I couldn't help but marvel at the scenery rushing by. The tropical trees, the cacophony of sounds, and the colorful jeepneys flashing by. Each sight filled me with a sense of awe and inspiration. This was a world teeming with life, and I was determined to embrace every moment. Arriving at my hotel, I felt drained but exhilarated. I was greeted with warm smiles, and the hospitality was overflowing, evidence of the warmth of the Filipino spirit. As I unpacked my suitcase, each item reminded me of home, yet also reinforced the knowledge that I was on a new path, a path paved with possibility and serendipity. I couldn't help but reflect on how far I had come to get here, fighting through uncertainties and anxiety. After settling in, I ventured out into the streets of Davao, fueled by a sense of anticipation. I was motivated to turn my fears into flesh and embers, kindling the spirit of exploration within me. The first place I decided to visit was the local market, where the vivid colors and exotic produce beckoned. Every stall seemed to tell a story, each vendor smiled, bringing warmth to my heart. I sampled fresh fruits, sweet and tangy, reminding me that each new experience could be a delicious discovery. I wandered further, immersing myself in the hustle and bustle of the city. Strangers offered friendly nods or smiles, and for every moment of doubt I encountered, there was an equal moment of kindness that pulled me back to the surface. Through my adventures, I encountered the beauty of Davo's culture, the fusion of tradition and modernity, the celebrations, and the festivals waiting to burst onto the scene. I could feel the spirit of resilience and joy threading through the lives of those I observed. As the sun set, painting the sky in hues of orange and violet, the pulse of the city transformed into something almost magical. There was a palpable shift in the atmosphere, and I found myself inspired by the very rhythm of life here. Beneath the surface, the complexities of emotion within me swirled, a blend of fear, hope, excitement, and a tinge of melancholy. That night, as I lay in bed, the events of the day echoed in my mind like a gentle lullaby. I thought about how fear had momentarily paralyzed me, but now felt like a mere shadow. I could almost feel the comforting weight of hope pressing against me, urging me to embrace what was to come. Each moment was a mosaic, intricate in its detail, the challenges, the triumphs, and the joy of stepping beyond what I thought was possible. And as I drifted off to sleep, I felt that Davao City was not just a destination for me, but a catalyst for change. I was beginning to see my journey not as a departure from home, but as an invitation to redefine my understanding of self in a world so vast, vibrant, and overflowing with stories waiting to be told. I knew tomorrow would bring new challenges and joys to embrace, and I would welcome them with open arms, ready to continue the journey that had just begun. As I stepped off the plane in Davao City, the warmth of the humid air enveloped me like a thick blanket. The rich, earthy scent of tropical flora, mixed with the faint aroma of street food, beckoned me forward. I was instantly greeted by a cacophony of sounds, the bustling chatter of locals, the honking of jeepneys navigating the crowded streets, and the rhythmic clamor of a nearby market filled with vendors selling fresh produce and local delicacies. It was a vivid contrast to the quiet familiarity of home. Navigating through the city became my first challenge. The language barrier loomed large, with many people speaking in Cebuano or Tagalog, making simple interactions feel daunting. The bright colors of the markets dazzled my senses, but the inability to communicate often left me feeling isolated. I found myself watching groups of locals share laughter and stories, longing to be part of their world while standing at the periphery. But each day, as I went deeper into the city, I began to discover ways to connect. Initially, I was hesitant to try the food. I had heard of durian, that infamous fruit with its pungent smell and polarizing taste. But curiosity soon got the better of me, and I found myself savoring the creamy texture and unique flavors, despite my initial reservations. Adapting to the local cuisine also included trying out the street food, sizzling barbecue skewers glistening with marinade, fresh fruits bursting with sweetness, and rice cakes wrapped in banana leaves. Each bite transported me further from home, into a world where culinary delights were wrapped in tradition and shared among locals. As days turned into weeks, I became more comfortable with the rhythm of life in Davao. The warm smiles of shopkeepers and the friendly nods of children playing in the streets began to replace the initial loneliness that lingered during my arrival. I found solace in joining language classes aimed at helping foreigners communicate, where laughter often broke through the frustration of mispronounced words. With each new phrase learned, I felt a little more integrated into the local culture, chipping away at the wall of isolation that surrounded me. Upon leaving Davao City, I arrived in Hanoi, Vietnam, a city that greeted me with an entirely different ambience. The air was tinged with motorbike fumes, mingling with the delightful aromas wafting from food stalls. Steaming bowls of pho and skewered meats cooking over open flames were seemingly everywhere. The streets pulsed with energy, and I was swept away in the ebb and flow of life. The clinks of bowls and chopsticks echoed as locals gathered in tiny street eateries, their animated conversations forming a vibrant backdrop to my meals. The sounds of Hanoi stirred a sense of excitement and anxiety within me. The chaos of the traffic felt like a living organism, breathing and thrumming with life. But the bewildering mix of honks, shouts, and laughter ignited a thrill deep within me. I learned to navigate the streets not by waiting for an opening, but by weaving into the flow, embracing the unpredictability. In Vietnam, the culture was rich and layered, and I struggled at first to adapt. I was a stranger in a beautifully intricate tapestry of customs and traditions. Figuring out how to greet people, when to bow slightly, and how to navigate the nuances of dining etiquette took time. The people around me were patient, laughing gently at my missteps while offering guidance when they saw my confusion. Despite the language hurdles, the warmth of the communities I encountered left a profound mark on me. Trying to savor the local cuisine without a full grasp of the language became an adventure. I would point at colorful dishes, allowing my taste buds to guide me into the unknown. I stumbled across hidden gems, small eateries where the locals congregated, serving the most incredible bun cha, or banh mi, bursting with flavors. While moments of loneliness still snuck in, and the longing for home would sometimes overwhelm me, I learned that these challenges were but stepping stones toward growth. Every interaction, whether joyous or tough, shaped me into a traveler more attuned to the world around me. I became more aware of my own vulnerability, realizing that the places I traveled were not just destinations, but experiences that would forge my identity. Adapting to the unfamiliar took its toll, but with each challenge, I found resilience growing within me. When I confronted situations that provoked fear, lost in translation or in busy, crowded markets, I developed ways to cope, from slow breaths to deep conversations with fellow travelers and locals. I began to observe, asking questions, and becoming an active participant in navigating differences, demonstrating that true connection transcends language. The vibrant cities of Davao and Hanoi molded my adventure into a rich narrative of exploration. They offered me the chance to step outside my comfort zone, enveloped in the sights, sounds, and flavors that unraveled the beauty of human connection. Through trial and tribulation, I unlocked a newfound appreciation for the journey itself, understanding that travel was as much about the internal voyage as it was about the places I visited. The lessons I learned from Davo's warmth and Hanoi's chaos became integral threads in the tapestry of my travels, forever etched in my memory as a reminder of the power of adaptation and human resilience. Davao City is a vibrant and culturally rich destination in the Philippines that I had the pleasure of exploring recently. My journey began at the airport, where I could immediately feel the warm hospitality of the locals. As I stepped out into the city, the bustling atmosphere enveloped me. My first stop was the iconic Mount Apo, the highest peak in the Philippines. Although I didn't climb to the summit, I visited the foot of the mountain, where trails wound through lush forests and diverse wildlife. I marveled at the breathtaking views, and the sheer majesty of the mountain left me in awe. Next, I ventured to the Philippine Eagle Center, dedicated to conserving the country's national bird. The center was home to a few of these majestic eagles, and I was captivated by their grace and power. The staff shared fascinating insights about their habitat and the ongoing efforts to protect these magnificent creatures. It was a humbling experience that made me appreciate the delicate balance of nature and conservation efforts. One of my favorite moments in Davao was visiting the Cagayan Park. This park not only showcases beautiful flowers and plants native to the region, but also celebrates Davo's rich cultural heritage. As I strolled through, I saw colorful sculptures, traditional houses, and even artists at work. I spent some time chatting with local artisans, who were eager to share their crafts and stories. The atmosphere was filled with joy, and cultural performances during my visit added to the vibrant ambience. I also couldn't miss the chance to visit the San Pedro Cathedral, the oldest church in Davao City. Its stunning architecture and historical significance made it a must-see. The intricate stained glass windows and the serene atmosphere offered a stark contrast to the lively streets outside. I took a moment to reflect and appreciate the spiritual side of the city. Davao City is also famous for its culinary scene. My next stop was the Aldavinco Shopping Center, where I tasted some of the best local dishes. The array of food stalls selling durian, grilled seafood, and local delicacies was overwhelming yet delightful. I tried the sinigang, a sour soup that burst with flavors, and the fresh seafood was simply irresistible. Each bite was a celebration of Davo's culinary richness. As my journey in Davao City came to an end, I began my exploration of Hanoi, Vietnam. The transition from the lively, warm atmosphere of Davao to the historic charm of Hanoi was striking. I arrived in the midst of bustling streets filled with motorcycles and street vendors selling everything from pho to banh mi. My first destination was the Hon Kim Lake, a beautiful oasis in the heart of the city. The serene lake, surrounded by lush greenery and ancient temples, provided a peaceful escape from the lively city noise. I took a leisurely walk around the lake, soaking in the view of the iconic Red Huck Bridge leading to the Nok Sun Temple. Next, I made my way to the Old Quarter, a maze of narrow streets lined with shops, cafes, and markets. The energy of the area was palpable. I immersed myself in the local culture, sipping traditional Vietnamese coffee at a quaint cafe while observing the chaos of the street life. I wandered through the various stalls, purchasing handcrafted souvenirs and tasting delicious street food. The Bon Zio, a crispy Vietnamese pancake filled with shrimp and bean sprouts, was a highlight of my culinary adventure. Later, I visited the Temple of Literature, Vietnam's first national university. The serene atmosphere and lovely gardens were a perfect counterpoint to the hustle and bustle outside. I admired the intricately designed structures, which were a testament to Vietnam's rich cultural and educational history. Being in this space felt like stepping back in time, and it was fascinating to learn about scholars who once studied there. A cultural highlight was visiting the Ho Chi Minh Mausoleum. As I approached the imposing structure, I was filled with a sense of reverence. The mausoleum houses the body of the founding father of modern Vietnam, and the solemn atmosphere was palpable. It was a deeply moving experience to pay my respects and reflect on the history of the nation. On my final day in Hanoi, I took a day trip to Ha Long Bay, known for its emerald waters and towering limestone islands. The boat cruise through the bay was a surreal experience. I was surrounded by breathtaking scenery, with each island offering its own unique beauty. A visit to one of the caves, Sung Sok Cave, left me speechless as I beheld the stunning rock formations. The beauty of nature here was unlike anything I had ever witnessed. As my journey came to an end, I reflected on the diverse and enriching experiences I had in both Davao City and Hanoi. Each location offered an array of sights, sounds, and flavors that satisfied my thirst for adventure. From the majestic landscapes of Davao to the cultural treasures of Hanoi, each moment added to the tapestry of my travels, leaving me with cherished memories and a deeper appreciation for the beauty of life. The sun began to set as I stood at the bus stop, the air thick with the scent of asphalt and the warmth of the fading day. I was in a new city, far away from home, surrounded by people who were strangers yet felt achingly familiar. It was the beginning of a journey I never anticipated, one filled with challenges and unexpected friendships. The bus arrived, screeching to a halt before me, its doors swinging open with a whir. I took a deep breath, stepping inside and scanning the bus for an empty seat. The interior was a blend of colors and sounds, people chatting, music leaking from someone's headphones, the rumble of the engine. As I settled into my seat, I felt a shiver of anxiety. This unfamiliar routine made my heart race. Where would I be going next? The bus ride was long, twisted through parts of the city I had never seen, each stop revealing another corner of a world that felt both exhilarating and daunting. The more I traveled, the more I noticed the subtleties around me. The vibrant murals decorating the walls, the laughter of children running alongside the street, the elderly couple sharing stories from their youth. Yet, Underneath it all, I felt a pang of isolation. I was surrounded by people, yet I was alone. One evening, as the bus paused at a particularly busy intersection, I noticed a young woman sitting across from me. She had an infectious smile and an air of confidence that drew me in. As we exchanged glances, she struck up a conversation, introducing herself as Clara. We spoke about the city, its hidden gems, and our shared feelings of feeling lost yet excited. With every laugh we shared, my anxiety began to dissolve. It was the beginning of a friendship that brightened my days, but also led me through unexpected turns. As we explored the city together, we encountered our fair share of challenges. One rainy afternoon, while waiting for the bus, we found ourselves drenched and shivering. But instead of letting the weather dampen our spirits, we took refuge in a nearby cafe. The air was warm, and the aroma of brewing coffee welcomed us inside. As we talked over steaming mugs, we bonded over our love for adventure, reveling in our shared courage. However, the city was not without its dangers. One night, while heading home after a concert, we took a wrong turn and ended up in a less friendly neighborhood. My heart raced as I realized our surroundings had shifted. The streets felt cold and uninviting, the voices turning harsh. Clara and I exchanged nervous glances, our laughter turning to silence as we quickened our pace. It was in that moment of fear that I felt the weight of my vulnerability, but also the warmth of companionship. We stuck together, whispering reassurances, using the strength of our friendship to navigate the unexpected threat around us. There were moments I felt like giving up, particularly during the times when loneliness crept in and the city felt overwhelmingly large. One such evening, I sat on a park bench, feeling defeated. I couldn't shake the feeling that I didn't belong. The allure of the city had begun to fade beneath the weight of my insecurities. As I sat there, the sun dipped below the horizon, its colors painting the sky in shades of purple and orange. Just then, a group of children ran past, giggling and playing, their joy infectious. They didn't care about the complexities of the world around them. They embraced each moment for what it was. I realized that my struggles were a part of my journey. Determined to push through, I shared my fears with Clara. She listened intently, her eyes sympathetic, and offered words of encouragement that reignited a spark within me. Our conversations became a source of inspiration deeper than I ever thought possible. Each shared story, every laugh, and tear became a reminder that I wasn't alone. We devised a plan to explore the city's hidden corners and to meet new people along the way. In the weeks that followed, we attended local poetry readings, art exhibitions, and community events. I met a woman named Maria at one of these gatherings. She was vibrant, her stories filled with the kind of wisdom that only comes from experiencing life to its fullest. As we talked, I felt a connection that was grounding and powerful. She shared her own story of moving to the city, and I found myself inspired by her resilience, reminding myself that we all had our battles to fight. Clara and I ventured into more challenging spaces, facing our fears head-on. From participating in a community cleanup drive to attending a self-defense class, every experience brought us closer and fortified our resolve. The friendships I formed held me up during moments of doubt, showing me that connection was vital to overcoming the challenges of living alone in a new city. My emotional journey eventually led me to embrace all aspects of the experience. The loneliness, the fear, the thrill of meeting new individuals. It was a tapestry of growth. Each challenge became a piece of my narrative, adding depth and richness to my story. As seasons changed, the city transformed. I learned to navigate the labyrinth of streets, understanding which bus to take and how to communicate with strangers. It became clearer that the struggles were not just obstacles, but opportunities for connection and understanding. I could see the beauty in the chaos, the lessons in the trials. The day I finally felt at home was when I hosted a small gathering for my newfound friends, Clara, Maria, and a few others. As we shared stories, laughter filling the rooms, I realized I had woven myself into the fabric of this city. It was no longer foreign, it was my home, in every sense of the word. I had faced challenges, met dangers, and wrestled with loneliness, but through it, I discovered strength, resilience, and the power of community. A journey that began with uncertainty had blossomed into something beautiful, teaching me that it was not merely the destination that mattered, but the friendships and experiences that shaped my path along the way. I in the vibrant city of Davao, Philippines. The air was warm and infused with the scent of tropical blooms, creating a backdrop of serenity tinted with an undercurrent of adventure. I had arrived to visit the famous Mount Apo, the highest peak in the Philippines, and the allure of the surrounding nature was irresistible. As I roamed through the streets of Davao, I was enthralled by the bustling markets filled with fresh tropical fruits and friendly locals eager to share their stories. While exploring, I stumbled upon a small, quaint cafe tucked away in a narrow alley. The owner, an elderly man named Lido, greeted me with a warm smile and offered a local specialty, durian coffee. It was a unique concoction that promised an explosion of flavors. I hesitated but was captivated by his enthusiasm. After one sip, my taste buds experienced a roller coaster ride. The coffee had hints of earthy tones mingling with the bold and pungent flavor of durian. It was a taste I would not soon forget, and Lito's stories of his youth filled me with admiration for the simplicity of life he embraced. The following day, I embarked on a trek up Mount Apo. The hike was arduous, with steep inclines that tested my endurance, but the breathtaking views made every step worth it. Along the way, I encountered a group of local guides who shared their intimate knowledge of the mountain's flora and fauna. They taught me about the endangered species unique to the area, emphasizing the importance of conservation. As I immersed myself in the rich biodiversity, I began to see nature as a complex web of life, each thread interconnected and essential. Reaching the summit was euphoric. The view from the top was nothing short of majestic, a panorama of rolling hills and endless sky. In that moment of quiet reflection, I realized how small my worries were compared to the magnificence of the world around me. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with the crisp mountain air, and felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over me. My adventures didn't end there. Eager for my next destination, I made my way to Hanoi, Vietnam. The transition to this bustling city was stark. The chaos of motorbikes zooming through the crowded streets, the aroma of street food wafting through the air, and the vibrant chatter of locals all surrounded me instantly. I found myself drawn to Hon Kim Lake, where the tranquility of the water contrasted beautifully with the city's hustle. It was there I noticed a small group of elderly folks practicing Tai Chi, their movements fluid and graceful. Inspired, I joined them, and it proved to be a grounding experience amidst the frantic pace of life. One evening, while wandering through the old quarter, I stumbled upon a hidden gem, an art gallery showcasing the works of emerging Vietnamese artists. The creativity and passion behind each piece resonated with me, and I struck up a conversation with a young artist named Lynn. She shared her struggles and aspirations, revealing how art had become her solace amidst societal pressures. Her determination was infectious, and I began to question not only my own dreams, but the societal norms that often held us back. Throughout my time in Hanoi, I explored the vibrant street food scene. I savored pho, bun cha, and banh mi, each dish telling a story of tradition and culture. I joined a local cooking class, where I learned to prepare these beloved dishes, creating an intimate bond with the community. The warmth and hospitality I experienced from the locals contrasted with my preconceived notions of city life. Here in Hanoi, I found a sense of belonging and kinship that transcended language barriers. As I prepared for my journey back, I reflected on the life-changing experiences I'd had in both Davao and Hanoi. The lessons learned, the friendships forged, and the beauty encountered all became a tapestry of memories that would forever influence my perspective. I had transformed from a wanderer seeking thrill into a traveler in search of connection and understanding. On the very last night in Hanoi, as I stood overlooking the bustling streets from my hotel balcony, a sudden thought struck me. What if there was more to explore that awaited me beyond these two cities? The world was vast, rich with experiences beyond my imagination. Then, I received an email that would change everything. A travel invitation to explore the hidden temples of Angkor Wat in Cambodia, with a note suggesting that there might be something extraordinary waiting for me there. With a heart full of anticipation and renewed purpose, I instantly felt that my journey was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. As I turned to pack my bags, a feeling of exhilaration washed over me. knowing that every adventure held the potential for transformation and that the beauty of life often lay in the unexpected.